There's a lot that have been, a lot of changes that have been happening, a lot more vetting going on in all cases. I mean, even for the F student that we spoke about earlier, maybe it would have been a lot easier in the past, and even though the rules or laws haven't changed, the people interviewing, their state of mind has. So one thing that President Trump created was the National Vetting Center. It's new, they haven't implemented it yet, but its purpose is to coordinate security screenings of applicants for immigration benefits and entry to the U.S. and to facilitate information sharing among federal immigration and intelligence agencies. So right now, none of the agencies really talk to each other. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But you know, when you go to the embassy and overseas and they issue you the visa, when you enter at the Custom and Border Patrol, a lot of times they don't have that same information. So you get asked the same questions, or they could come up with a different decision than the embassy came up with. That can be a problem. So this is supposed to have everybody coordinating information. It's supposed to take 6 months to create a plan for implementation for this center. But the president has to approve it before it gets going. We don't really know what this is going to mean. Already when you go through something called administrative processing, this on hold, it's supposed to be another agency is vetting this person, digging into their background, and it takes a long time. Sometimes you have the different government bureaucracies, it can take a while. So we don't know, is this going to delay things? Maybe are they going to speed things up once they're talking to each other? We really don't know. But they're going to have a lot more information available to them, a lot more databases, biometric information. So we have to wait to see what the plan is when they release it. Talking about their screening requirements and how this is all going to work. It's just one possible thing. Another thing also related to administrative processing are new questions that the Department of State implemented recently. So now, if you get chosen for this security check, think of it as a security check, they call it administrative processing, but they're checking your background. We normally say, what might trigger this? Maybe you have the same name and birthday as a known criminal or someone that's on one of their lists. So they have to check you out to make sure you're not that person. So they used to really just ask you maybe your work history, you have to provide your passport. Now, they want to know 5 years of your public social media account information. So when you are on Facebook, what's your login? What's your handle? If you're on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle? All of your email addresses for the last 5 years. All of your prior passports. All of your 15 years of residence addresses. I mean, I'm young. I like have to go back to mom and dad to get to 15 years, you know? Employment history, travel history. It used to be just maybe 5 years. Now it's 15 years. The names of any of your children, which they had, spouses, which they had, but now siblings. So they've added siblings onto the list. So it's a lot of information. It's going to be hard for people to get all of this information. That in itself might delay an application because the person themselves needs time to get all of this together. Factors that why might you be selected to give these additional questions depends on your country of citizenship, where you were born, the country where you were born, past travel history, so if you visited a country that might be on a list, military service, if you're affiliated with any organizations that might be a little bit on some list, and if you are in high-tech fields, we see that now, depending on someone's educational background, if they know sensitive information or have degrees in chemical or chemistry, those types of things, they might be selected. So they're saying these questions are voluntary. You don't have to provide the information, but probably if you don't provide the information, your application is going to be delayed even further. So that's something new that's in place. One other thing I think a few more things to talk about. So employment-based adjustment of status. So to get your green card, a lot of people maybe marry a U.S. citizen and adjust that way. Those are family-based, or maybe parents, so your kids apply for you, or siblings. If you get it through a job and you're doing an employment-based adjustment of status, you didn't used to really have to go in for an interview. But for family-based, you did. I mean, when I married my husband, he's from China, we both went in, they asked us questions, which side of the bed do you sleep on, here's some pictures, that sort of thing. Always they call you in. But for employment-based, they never really used to, unless you had some issue, a criminal issue or something like that. They kind of figured it wasn't on one of their risky factors. I'm not going to say list again, but I'm sure they have a lot of lists. So now, since October 2017, interviews for employment-based cases will be mandatory if a case was filed March 2017 or later. So if you file before March, you still might get called if you have one of these criminal issues or something like before, but otherwise it's new. Your family members for employment-based cases will also be interviewed. Of course, young children don't need to come to interviews, but anyone over the age of 14 does. So imagine, the USCIS office, they were already understaffed and very busy with the caseload that they had. Now you're calling in all of these people who had employment that they're coming out to get their green card. They didn't used to have to go in and take up the time. Now they all do. So any case that needs to go into USCIS should expect a delay coming up. We've had the officers kind of tell us their frustrations when we come in for these employment-based cases. They say now they don't even have enough time to review the next case that's coming in. We just go from case to case to case. So it might mean you have an officer who's overwhelmed. Interviews might not be as friendly as I have always experienced. I mean, if my workload doubled or tripled, I would be a little bit stressed too. So there's that, there's delays. Another issue is submitting the medical evaluation. Anyone who adjusts status must submit a medical evaluation. Well, that's only good for a year. So if you go and get your medical evaluation in January 2017, but now your interview is not going to be scheduled until March 2018, over a year, you might have to go and get another medical evaluation. So more time, more money, undue waste.
Do you guys submit your medicals?
We used to, but now our strategy is don't submit them, and if you're missing evidence, they'll ask you for it when they're ready. So you get a request for evidence. So instead of submitting it and wasting time, you just wait until they ask you for it. We didn't used to do that because we didn't want them to come back, because when they ask you for more information, they're kind of looking at your case again. We figure give them everything, but now that you have to get another one after a year, it's better to wait. So is that your strategy too? No, yeah. What else? They ask you, a lot of times with the family-based cases, they ask you those really funny questions like, were you a Nazi in Germany in 1944? I think most people would say, what are you talking about? Did you smuggle anyone into the U.S.? No, I'm good. But for employment-based, we'll probably focus on your work, your job duties. They're probably going to be checking timelines. You said you lived here, but your work was in this city. What's going on with this? So people really have to be very aware of their employment history, their residential history, and talking about their employer and their job that they're using to get the green card. So I think that's it for employment-based. Does anyone have questions about that?